Okay, so let's quickly move to the next stage of the uh, very important competencies and a very important competitive strategy is supply chain management and logistics. So it is competency because you need to master it, and it is competitive strategy because this is where the integrations of all activities delivering the operations objective, such as in terms of qualities, in terms of dependabilities, such as the delivery on time, flexibility, and speed, responsiveness, and time, things like that. So these are where, and the reasons why we need the theories, because theories allow us to explain things and apply things in a very logical sense. So the competitive advantages of the theory is that you can explain things, you can expand on it, you can improve your market share, you can improve and expand your production facilities, and you can convince your convince your employees because you can explain things where you can convince your value co-creators, your partners, and this is where the theories comes into the picture. So do not ignore the real meanings of theory. The real meanings of theory, it's about generating an explanation that allow your company stakeholders and your employees to understand where your competitive strategies comes from and why it is so important that we need to master this competency. And that is what theories comes into the picture from the competitive strategy point of view, from the competency point of view. Okay, otherwise you would probably just think, oh, theory is only theory. And so no meaning, right? So we are business students, we are businessmen, you are future CEO. We have to make use of all the things in a more effective manner. We have to earn a lot of money. Okay, so things that would not allow you to earn money, and that would not we will spend unnecessary resources. Okay, so theory, I hope now you understand what is the meaning of theory from the competitive strategies and from the competency point of view. Okay, so already talk about applying the 5S to strategy and supply chain management, transforming into learning systems or networks, which I have already told you that the 5S, and if you continuous learning, you will learn by experience, and you will learn by insight, and you will transform, relearn and transform and improve your ISO form. Okay, and that is where things come from. So because of that, I just want to illustrate to you some of the very important competitive strategy so that it allows you to apply your competitive strategies to the competencies. Assumes that this is the business competencies that you need to develop, which is resources that will allow you that you need, okay, to allow you to go through the business practices, business operations, which is the very useful business operation design is called 5X, right? So we structures and sort things out, we set in orders, and different names can be configured, can be simplified, then we shine and sanitize it with meanings, quality control point, checkpoint, and then standardize it, systematize it, self-discipline it, it will create a lot of output. Now, if you look carefully, all these come from where there is a structure. You know, the structures provide provide the foundations and provides the mechanisms, provide the architectures, provide the motive, provide the rationalities for all our conduct or behaviors. And so our competency, well, this structuring design is a competency, but when you move to operations, then everybody is on a day-to-day basis. This is called conduct, right? And this day-to-day basis of setting orders and shining and standardization, all these are called behaviors of conduct, and that is where the skills and the knowledge and the attitudes comes into the picture. and that is where the business competencies operations come into the picture. Of course, structure is a very important beginnings of the competencies, and it's a very important investment on your competitive strategy, because your investments will turn into assets that you can repetitively use it, right, and to help you to earn the money. And that is where your balance sheet comes into the pictures, right? Your the sources of income, the sources of funds, and the uses of fund, and structures and contracts are your uses of fund. So all these are how you use the fund. Okay, so you use the funds to generate the sufficient cash flow, working capital, and things like that, right? Okay, and of course, got to be balanced with the sources of fund, and which will eventually returns the net worth and the equity, venture equity, whatever the shareholders returns and net worth of the company, and that's how your companies grow and grow and grow, right? Which is called performance. So structures provide the conduct, generate the competitive advantages, and deliver the performance. And so if you look carefully on this structures, contacts, generating competitive advantage, performance sense, in view of the resources, which is the VRINO, variable, rare, and immutable, non-substitutable of the resources, and the resources are organized such as by use of your balance scorecard, or by use of your ISO 9001, 9004, 9000, and 14,000, 22,000, 56,000, whatever. And you will see that this is really something that you have been very familiar, which is the industrial organization economics that you have learned, or market positioning theory, the competition that you have learned, which is about, for instance, the 5 forces, Michael Porter's from business, other business schools, the 5 forces. So what you do is that how do you create competency? How do you identify which competencies that you need to invest on, or how you can improve or derive your competitive strategies? Come from understanding the structures of your industry. And so structures of industries, therefore, is only a part of the structure. And these structures, for instance, is not only the structures of the competitive of the industry, but also the structure of your operation. In conclusion, we are talking about to give you a theoretical format, to give you a very generic understandings of the competitive world, is that the structures will drive your conduct and will drive and deliver your performance. So this is something that you're already so familiar. Okay, so you can see that whatever I'm teaching you, I am just integrating your first year, second year, third year, fourth year into a holistic system, right? And I no need to memorize everything. It's so it is just natural. Okay, and so no matter if you can use that to talk about brand management. You can talk about consumer behavior. You can talk about marketing. You can talk about integrated marketing communications. You can talk about human resource development. You can talk about strategic human resource management. You can talk about cash flow and balance it. And as I have just illustrated to you, the uses of funds and the sources of fund and things like that. So it's something that you can learn by yourself. I'm sure you're better than me in those sense, because I'm engineer training. I'm so you're supposed to be better and more sharper than hopefully better than me in the sense of business. And so, in conclusion, is you have already learned the 5 forces, one of the industry structures, and the structures will tell you the contact, right? Or give you a lot of contact, how you can develop your brand, how you can develop your marketing, how you can develop your diversification, how you can develop turn your strategies to be more proactive rather than strategic, and making use of the competitive advantages, make your strategies a little bit more competitive in natures, and maybe more differentiations, maybe hybrid in the sense of cost and things like that. So anyway, whichever you want to do. And eventually, you will produce a set of conduct, integrating all this conduct and implement it into business model. Again, business model is another structure. Okay, and so structures within structure, conduct within conduct. So there's no problem within a business model. But business model is a conduct, is the way you behave in a logical flow that allow you to deliver and create product and services that deliver and delight the customers and generate the revenue for you and captures the profit. But again, if you look at business model as the structure, structures within structure, this is a little bit more operational structure, then you will find that in each of the individual structural component, and there is certain behavior, conduct, right? It's a platform for conduct. So how you partnership with people, how you deliver your channel of distribution. How is the channel distribution influence the market return of your marketing strategy? Okay, and is how much discount percentage you need to provide for your channel indirect or intermediate channel distribution, or should you reduce the percentage of discount and zero discounts and control the channel distribution by yourself through e-commerce or e-platform, things like that. So anyway, all these systems of data, physical isoquant, it will be back to the business, it will be back to the isoquant, okay, in terms of that. And you can design and develop by yourself. So this is where things are, and just give you one more examples of the theory, a little bit more into the detail, is the input. So the input is not only the resource inputs, but also the inputs from the institutional rules and regulation. So when your companies are in an industry, every industry or in locations like California, they have certain institutional culture of being very creative, and institutional or being digitization of institutional rules and regulations restricted by the provincial state governments of California, and because of that, you have to incorporate that institutional policies and environmental things, be sensitive to them, and employ as part of your inputs for your structures, contract, competitive advantages, and performance identifications. Okay, so these are again is you can slowly expand the theoretical format, and based on this competency process, and based on this competitive strategy process, and so you can, based on this competency process on the left hand side, you can generate a lot of competitive strategy based on your right hand side. So you can match these two together and expand. It's unlimited. Okay, I'm just giving you some example, and I assume that all of you have already learned a lot of theories from your training. Anyway, in whichever you do, your competency, okay, and your competency, in order to create competitive advantage, you must ensure strategic fit. Okay, so you got to have strategic fit of your 5X. So how do you know how good your 5X are, your operations management are? You can look at the strategic fit, whether it fit with your opportunity and threats. So consistencies of your all these activities, structures and sorting and setting up, in setting in order, shutting, sanitizing, quality control, systems, forms and standardization, and cultures and attitudes and incentives and rewards and practices and procedures and training, are they all consistently consistent? And if so, then you have the first level fit. And do they reinforce each other? If so, that comes to the second level fit. And do you continue to learn and improve and go up your isoquant and jumps down your isoquants to the next level? That is called optimization. So the more you go through the isoquant, the more you optimize it. Okay, and then jumping down will be another step of optimization through innovation. So all these are called strategic fit. This is how we compete with competitors. in our operations, in our value chain, in our supply chain management, in our logistics, okay, that allow us to flow on time, with the right quality, with the right quality, with the right item, with the right at the right time. All the seven right, 7R. Okay, and in logistics, okay, you can go to Google and find it out. Otherwise, I assume maybe you have taken a class called logistics, or maybe advanced logistics, or maybe some supply chain management, or maybe intermediate supply chain management, maybe sustainable supply chain management. If no, then it's no problem, right? You can already know supply chain management from my discussions today. Okay, so today it not only teach you give you a groundwork for ISO 9001, which we will discuss later, but also it gives you a very strong foundation in innovation, entrepreneurship, and competency and competitive strategy through very unique applications of 5X. Okay, in Thai we call hustle, but no one will teach hustle in the way I just demonstrated to you, because I incorporated okay, so in a way, we turned resources, okay, and we can make use of our resources, and that is both within our controls, autogenic, or something from outside, like our partnerships or suppliers, first tier, second tier, third tiers, our customers or vendors, or maybe talking about supply chain centralized, or maybe vendor managed inventory that related to the bank, that give associated in collaborations with the factories, such as in semiconductors, where you set up a vendor manage inventories near their facilities, okay, things like that. So anyway, whatever you do, you try to make sure that it is sustainable. Okay, so sustainable in the sense that focusing on me, we, will. Okay, focus on creating sustainable value, exploit and explore supply chain network synergies, right? All the partners, as I just told you, unifies them in the social, environmental, economic activities domain objective, right, into a single value creation space that will give you a very soft synergistic fit, which is a competitive strategy foundation for sustainability, and that is very important. In that sense, you need radical transparencies across all your processes, and you need to ensure that every stakeholder expectations are fulfilled. Okay, so this part of the part on the me organization, which is your organization. We focus on the we, which is the supply chain and community, and we focus on the world at the same time. So me, we, will. Me, we, will. Okay, and so leaders who heed their inner voices can draw on more resources to make better decisions and connect with their authentic selves, and let other people to be a strategy part of you. So if you want to be integrating the whole supply chain and network, very important is that you got to have your authentic self. You got to have a leader. You got to be a very authentic leader. So we are talking about leadership here. So it's a leadership in supply chain, leadership in operations management, leadership in logistics. So for example, if you see some of the very big companies that they have their own value chain and supply chain, why they are able to be a leader in the organization, because everybody knows that they are very leader. They are they are strong leaders. Okay, so do not ignore the leadership role in supply chain. Leadership's roles means get the messages across, meanings that convince your suppliers to be a part of you. For example, in terms of the Uber, and you got to convince the drivers. In terms of the online the food delivery, you got to convince the motorbike to be a part of you, right? You got to convince the restaurant to be innovation all the time. And to do that, you need to be transparent, radical transparency to the restaurant. Tell them what the feedbacks are from the customer. Tell them how other people are doing, and tell them your incentive. Whatever they need to learn to earn. Do not take away unnecessary their profits. Okay, reduce their profits. And so all this very, very important of the we work. And if you want to establish the we work again, they have their own sub competencies. So we're not talking about the competencies and strategies on the operational strategic perspective, but we are talking about just the operational leadership perspective. And to be a leader in the supply chain, you again need three empathic competencies, meanings that if you want to, for example, Alibaba, they want to be the leaders in China in terms of all these Alibaba platform systems, ecosystem, and then the number one things that they need is cognitive empathy. Number two is emotional empathy. Number three is empathic concern. Okay, so this competency, business competency, that gets into the leadership detail that they need to demonstrate. Cognitive empathy is the ability to understand another person's perspective. Emotional empathy is the ability to feel what for example, I told you, right? The restaurants feel, the restaurants ready to earn a lot of money, and if you take away give them a lot of restrictions, and they do not have sufficient amount of the earning, and that means that you do not really understand them. You only want to trade with them and earn as much money as possible. You should, in fact, go down and talk to them, understand the challenges of the restaurant. Do they sell? Do they have a lot of waste after when they deal with us? What about the inventory? All this about emotional empathy, right? So emotional empathy, emotional concerns, all the competencies that we need to do. So if we can slowly in conclusion, move all the way from the conventional supply chains to be more data-driven supply chain, that is how we can become agile supply chains. So agile supply chains are more likely to be information-based, because when we move up to the knowledge and wisdoms, we can quickly change and adjust to the environmental context with relatively faster and shorter and road and less use of our facilities. Okay, so these are the back to the ISO points again. Okay, so everything we do, it's all about 5X productivity frontiers, or it's about ISO point. Okay, and again, I have already demonstrated to you on all this issue, just because we are talking about agile supply chain. So I just try to demonstrate to you what if you really focus on agile, that means what is correct. What are the characteristics that you need to do in terms of all these structures and sorting and setting in orders and things like that. And so supply chain that is agile usually has high degree of process interconnectivity. Again, you already sorting things out in your 5X. Agile supply chains gains flexibility using the strength of the specialist players. So you need to involve competencies of every single players in a very stringent manner. Okay, so they need to be very, very specialist so that they can quickly conform to your requirements in adaptation to the changes in the supply chain environment and provide flexibility. Therefore, we can rely on them to provide the flexibility. To do that, we need to have virtual virtualizations, which is a virtual competency, which is sharing informations with them. So we need, otherwise you will have a lot of inventory problems, costs would go down, and things like that. So okay, so response quickly to all kind of customers' requirements. So we're talking about range of product that you can deliver. So we talk about range flexibility. We're talking about how quickly you can or how flexible you can adjust your volumes of production and the quantities of production or quality or the different types of production. So we're talking about response flexibility. So we have range of product, we have the response in terms of the volumes, times, and whatever. Okay, so this is what we do, and if you go into a little bit more details in terms of the layout, right, of the supply chain operations model, you will see that these structures and sorting in terms of plans, facility, layout, locations, competitive priorities, you're sorting out whether you're focusing on flexibility, or you're focusing on qualities, or you're focusing on dependabilities, or you're focusing on speed, or you're focusing on times, or you're focusing on quality, and that is called competitive priority. That is where the competitive strategies also plays a very significant role in how you sort things with different layers of supply chain. And so we're talking about supply chain integration. That from this is operation details. But if you move into the operation layout of supply chain, you will realize that all these issues just level one of the supply chain. So you set the scopes and context, geography, segments, and product in place. And then when we move to the majors, configurations, competencies, and delivery, such as make to sales or make to orders or engineers to order, that is where the operational details comes into the picture. So you get the operational details will be in tune with the expectations of your supply chain configurations, competencies, such as do you want to focus on make to orders, or make to sales, or make to stock, right? MTX, or make to orders, or engineers to orders. This is more into a customized project, okay? And make to orders is different customers have different requirement. Make to stock, you can also have make to stock doesn't means commodity. You can also have mass customizations where you can stock on the generic sense, and then send it to different country, and then different countries pack with the different packagings and different ingredients. So we can, this is called make to stock. So all these are second layer of the supply chain, okay? And when it comes to all this, then we can, once we sort this make to stock, make to orders, and E to O ready, then we can start operating on our operation. And that is where the details comes into the picture, especially with ISO 9001 material requirements planning, or mass automations, or master production scheduling. So therefore, we're talking about activity within a configuration to accomplish the make to stock. So make to stock, there are different master production scheduling system. Make to stock, there are different material requirement production planning system, and make to orders, again, different MPS and different MRP, and E2O, different MPS, different MRP, and so on and so forth. So it is this operational activity detail at this activities level that supports the market demand, that is competency that you need to master, which then make use of the and deliver the expectation in terms of the scopes and context and geography and segments and product of your supply chain. Okay, so these are the difference, the synergies between supply chain and the operations management and the 5X competency in the sense. And again, there are a lot of different activity, different types of theories comes into the picture. And I assume, again, all of you have already studied all these different types of theory in year 1 or year 2, so year 3 to year 4, and so I will not repeat again. But again,